Here's an interesting fact, people. Did you know the first clock ever created or ever known to man was called a sundial? Created 15,000 years BC. That means 15,000 years before Christ by the Egyptian people as a way to measure the long days. Now, of course, the sundial couldn't be used at night because the sundial was driven by the actual light of the sun. So at night, it had no purpose or no way of measuring time. The Egyptians would further advance their technology, because this was advanced technology at the time, and eventually create what is known as a sand glass, or we call it hourglass, a better way of measuring time not only during the day but at night. They will also make a water clock. Different advancements in time, different advancements in ways to measure time. It wasn't until millennials later that the Europeans actually created the first clock measuring time, breaking it up from 24 hours to 12-hour increments to 60 minutes to 60 seconds and so forth and so on. You know how to tell time, people. You know how this works. The point of this is, when we go back to 15,000 BC, we have to wonder, did God create the clock? Now, many of us say, yes, God created all men, all things. So if he created all men, all things, yes, he created the ability to tell time, to create a clock, a calendar, all the ways we measure our time of day. But we also say, God's time is not our time. So it makes you wonder, did God truly create a clock? Or is this a man-made mechanism in a way to limit ourselves and create a way to identify our true wealth, our true worth? Let's talk about it, people. Let's talk about our worth. Let's talk about individual needs. Let's talk about how we measure time. Let's talk about how we use our time and how we give away our time, how we sell our time. Let's talk about it. First of all, many of you have a job right now. What you do is you sell your time. You sell your time as a way of taking care of your family, taking care of your daily needs. How do you sell your time? You offer your time to different companies at a rate, at a base rate. Some pay $8 an hour for your time. Some pay $10. Some pay as high as $100 to $20 an hour for your time. What is your time based off? What is the payment for your time? Is it based off your experience? Sometimes. Is it based off your ability to perform a job? Sometimes. Or is it based off a larger platform, a larger category created that doesn't focus on your individual skills or ability, but on a larger platform and also gender? Well, we know how time is measured. We know how pay is measured. We know all the inequalities that come with pay, especially when we're dealing with women, but we're not going to go there right now. The point is, people, a lot of times we sell our time too cheap. It's not that companies don't recognize our value, it's that we don't recognize our value. It's the fact that we don't understand the mechanisms of a clock. We don't understand the intricate parts of a clock and how it works, or intricate parts of our time and the value of our time and how to measure our time. But how can we understand that if we don't even understand how a watch works? If we don't understand what a broken clock means? I mean, have you ever looked inside of a watch? Do you know the most expensive watch and the most best watches come from Switzerland? Have you ever looked inside to see how the movement works? The little pieces, the little parts, the intricate parts and how they work together to sit here and measure and tell us the time of day, when to get on the clock, when to get off the clock? The intricate parts of our lives are further not always explained or understood. So it's interesting to know and to find out the fact that we all are being underpaid at our jobs. And we sell for less because the truth is, we don't know our true value. Our true value is based off what someone's willing to give us and what we're willing to accept. Too bad that many of us are working off a broken clock. We're working off a broken clock, people. The watches that we wear that we spend so much money for, the clocks on our computers don't tell the true time. Don't show the true identity of time. And what I mean by that, it don't tell us when it's time for us to go, when it's time for us to come. And what I mean by that, when it's time for us to break up with a career or a job that is not going to create the happiness, the joy, and the peace in our lives. That we spend too much of our time focusing on the negative, suffering from anxiety, stress, depression, all due to wasting of our time. We deal with poverty because, truth will be told, we sold our time too cheap. And now we're forced to spend our time in poverty, in anguish, stuck in our minds trying to figure out how we're going to live day to day or check to check. This is how we're measuring our time. But why do we do that? Because we're dealing with a broken clock. Some of us spend $2,000, $3,000 on a watch that has no mechanical movement, that often tells the wrong time. You ever heard this phrase right here, people? Spend $10,000 on a bag and have no money in your purse? Imagine spending $10,000 on a watch and it actually only right twice a day. It's only right twice a day. Imagine that being your life. Imagine right now you're sitting there, your cubicle, sitting in your office, you're dealing with depression. You're angry because you've been passed up on that promotion one too many times. Haven't got that raise that you want. The walls start to close in on you. That box starts feeling a little bit smaller, doesn't it? Starting to get a little more angry. You start to dread getting up in the morning when that alarm clock goes off. You get more frustrated as you're driving to work, and you look down at your radio clock, and you see that you only have 5 to 10 minutes to make it into office. Then as you walk up to that time clock on the wall to punch in, then the anxiety really kicks in. Because you see the wall starting to close in on you. You see the depression starting to take over. You see your mood starting to change. The frustration starting to come in. The anxiety of looking at other people. Then you start to focus on a different clock. You start measuring the time you wasted sitting in this office, staring at these walls, dealing with people that you don't particularly like, that don't particularly like you, doing a job that seems so mundane. This has become your day. And you wonder, as you look down at your watch, and you see the time is not moving, but staying still. It's then you recognize that you're doing the exact same thing. And that's the definition of experiencing and living with a broken clock. But people, there's an answer to that. There's an answer to everything you're feeling. There's an answer to what you're feeling when you hit that alarm clock, you hit the snooze button, so you can get 5 more minutes of sleep. When you're driving to work and you're trying to get your coffee in you, to give you a little more pick-me-up. When you listen to gospel music on your ride to work, to try to create a little bit more happiness, a little bit more joy. Hopefully, the graces of this great sound of gospel music of God is going to wash over you and wash away all the anxiety, the stress, the depression, the fear, and all the things that you are thinking or experiencing or expecting to experience in your day. Maybe by the time you get to that time clock, your watch will begin working again. It'll begin working again. Not only will your watch in the hands and the arms of your watch will begin moving, but then your life will start moving again. You will start moving again in a direction going forward. How do we do that though, people? How do we fix a broken clock? Because we never broke and opened the clock. We never looked inside to look at the mechanics. We don't have the tools, or we don't believe we have the tools to actually fix a clock. It takes a special type of skill to fix clocks, doesn't it? But you have the skills to fix your clock. First thing is, people, we need to do. We need to break up. That's right, people. I know breaking up is hard to do. It's a hard thing to do, to walk away from a relationship that you've been in so long, that you invested so much of your time into. It's hard to break up. It's hard to move on from these things into uncertainty. I know, I get it. It's difficult. But it's necessary in this equation. Because in order to fix our clock, it's the first thing we must do, people. We must break up. We must break up with anxiety. We must break up with stress. We must break up with frustration. We must break up with our jobs. We must break up with this hourly wage that we accepted, that was given to us and we accepted. It's time to break up with that. It's time to break up with our fear, people. It's time to end these relationships. It's time to end these relationships and start new. Now you're probably saying to me, well, how do I break up with fear? Because I have all kinds of different types of fears. I have fears of my children not being able to go to college. I got fears of not being able to pay my bills, to pay my mortgage, pay my rent, pay my car loan, pay my student loans, pay my car insurance. There's so many different fears I had. And we got to break up with those fears. But how do we break up with those fears? How do we lose those fears that we were taught to live with? That we measure on our clock, because we know at 11:30 today, in 2 more seconds, that the fear is going to kick in of thinking about these things. How do we fix that clock that has been broken for so long? You gotta break up with your fears, people. You gotta understand who you are, what you are. What are your capabilities? What are your abilities? What is people's truly purpose for your life? What is your true purpose for yourself? You gotta figure out what your gifts are. Many times we try to say to ourselves, well, I don't know what I want to do. When I set off this job because I don't have any particular gifts, I don't know what I want to do. Steve Harvey had a good point. He said, if you're good at frying chicken, then that's what you should do. You should fry chicken. You're probably saying to yourself, well, just because I'm good at fried chicken, how am I going to make money on fried chicken? Same way as KFC does. Same way as Popeyes do. Bojangles and many other companies, Chick-fil-A, all these other places that make chicken and make money off frying chicken. Same way they do is the same way you can. The point I'm trying to make is, people, breaking up with your fear is stepping out and stepping against it. It's like when you were at your park, you were at your playground when you were a kid, and that bully was taking your lunch money every single day. What did you eventually have to do? You had to either go hungry or you had to say, the hell with this. The feeling of hunger is stronger than the feeling of fearing you and stepping up to you to tell you, no, you're not going to take my lunch money. That's the same thing you have to do. You have to step to your fear. You have to say, my fear of failure is more my fear of you and not having something. You have to lose in your mind, in your subconscious, that you're going to fall. You have to lose those type of things, but you have to confront what you're fearing. And when you confront it, you'll find out that big beast that was holding you back, that was breaking your clock, never truly exists. It was just a form of your imagination. Like when your children wake up in the middle of the night and they say they got a monster in their closet or under their bed. You live with that same monster called fear. You gotta break up with anxiety, people. You gotta break up with that job, because if you know that job causes anxiety, if it causes unhappiness, if you feel like the walls are closing in on you, then you need to break up with walls. You need to find something that you can do, that you love to do, that does not require you to be isolated by walls, forced to be put in a square box. You need to find out what you love to do and then do it well, because that is your gift. That is your gift. That is your freedom to breaking the clock. You have to confront that anxiety, confront that stress, confront that fear, so that you can fix the mechanisms inside your clock. You gotta break up with these things. It's time for you to break up with this job. It's time for you to be honest with yourself. You ain't happy here, and you never will be. You gotta fix that clock. You gotta get the screwdriver out, untake off that clock, and fix those little minute mechanisms that sit inside your clock, so that it can start moving, so that you can start moving. So when you wake up in the morning, you're not hitting that snooze button. You have to make it so when you get up in the morning, you're excited to go into a job. You're excited to start your day. This is what you have to do. But it's deeper than that, though, people, because some people say, well, it's not my job I have a problem with, Alan. It's my relationships. Because, see, some people are looking like, I don't have that man I want, that husband. I haven't found that husband I want. I haven't found that wife yet. I know people at the church telling you, it's God's time. You got to find him on God's time. And see, God's time is on your time. I believe God's time is on your time, people. I believe God is moving as fast as you do. A lot of times we don't get what we want not because God is holding things back, not because he's truly punishing us, because we're not truly ready for it, people. We're not ready for the things we want. Of course, we all want $1 million. We all want $1 million, but we're not all responsible enough to deal with $1 million. Of course, we all have a list of things we'll do. We're going to take care of this. We're going to pay our bills. But when that $1 million hit our account, what we're going to do? We're going to go buy us a new Ferrari, a big house, and before the end of the week, we'll all be broke, because we truly didn't plan for it. Well, what does that have to do with relationships, people? The same thing. A lot of times you're not finding that husband or wife because you're not truly ready for it. You don't understand the minute mechanisms that come with it. It's sort of like that clock. It's like that watch you're wearing, that $10,000 Audemars watch you're wearing, $100,000 Audemars watch you're wearing. Excuse me, I don't want to sit and downplay your watch. I know your watch is expensive. It's like that nice clock you got, that pocket watch. The mechanism in it is so small, so technical, so detailed. It's sort of like you in a relationship. See, in a relationship, it's similar to that clock inside workings of a watch. See, in a relationship, when you get married, especially if you marry a woman with kids or a man with kids, there's many different mechanisms. See, a man's job, you must protect the entire family, and you must provide. You must teach and show this woman that she can trust you. She can be led by you, the same as a woman. There's roles and things that she must play in that relationship. There's pieces that she must put together. You have to be ready to not settle for a situation, but understand the adjustments you're going to have to make. You're going to have to make adjustments because time is going to change. Things are going to change in a relationship over time. The measurements of time is going to change and how long you can spend doing this and that, as far as being happy, to being mad at each other, to going through frustration times, to dealing with people outside of relationship, to dealing with the new addition of kids, to deal with new addition of job and responsibilities that come with it. It starts to have a major effect on the relationship. And eventually what it does is, it feels like the relationship is like a broken clock. It's just sitting still and not going anywhere. And you're trying to figure out a way to fix it. But you didn't understand before you bought that watch. Before you bought that watch, they tried to sell your warranty plan, but you weren't interested. Before you started that relationship, you were off the warranty plan, but you weren't interested in it. So now you're forced to fix it yourself. You wouldn't realize you wasn't ready for that watch when you got it. You wouldn't realize you weren't ready for that relationship when you got it. Because see, marriage comes with a lot of different things. A lot of times people lie to you and tell you, like a marriage, nothing changes in marriage. Nothing changes in marriage when you get married, same as a relationship. Not true. Things change. People change. So you must change and you must adjust. You must do maintenance into your marriage. You got to do maintenance within yourself. Not just with your partner, because a lot of times we try to fix our partner and not us. Don't we do that, people? That's the other thing we do when we're in relationships. Don't we do that? We all have this habit of trying to fix somebody else and not fixing ourselves. It's like, I see your watch. I know my watch ain't working. It's not changing. The clock's not working. The time's not working. The arm's not working. But I'm not interested in fixing my watch. I'm interested in fixing yours. So in the midst of me trying to fix your watch, I'm ignoring mine, the fact that mine's not working. And don't we do that in relationships? We're trying to fix somebody else, and we don't spend enough time fixing ourselves. Let me tell you something, people. I'm going to be very honest. I told y'all, I'm transparent with y'all. Very transparent. I had recently to look at myself and say to myself, yo, I have to make some changes and adjustments within myself. It was years that I didn't realize there was mistakes I was making. And finally, it became clear to me that there was issues within my watch that I needed to fix, interesting things in my life that I had to fix. And then it was, my ability was always there to fix it. And I'm going through that right now. The transition right now of fixing those intricate parts of my watch right now in my life to make me become better. Because I'm not perfect, people. And so many of us are the same way. We're too busy trying to fix somebody else's watch that we don't take the time to fix ours. We don't take time to fix ourselves. So then we go into these relationships, and then we get blessed with these relationships. It don't work out. And why is it not working out? Because I'm too busy trying to fix you. I found a broken watch, and I want to fix it. I found a person with a broken watch. I just want to fix it. I want to doctor it up. You know, you got to put the diamonds in it. You got to make it look nice and pretty. You know, you got to shine it up. Make sure it looks all nice and cute. You know, when you take it out, you want to show it off. But the whole time you're trying to doctor up this watch, the whole time trying to fix this watch, what about yours? You're neglecting your watch. You're neglecting yourself. Then the relationship don't work out. And this person, the other person walks off with this beautiful, shiny new watch, ready to start a whole new situation, better than they ever came. This watch eventually moves on. The watch is back working. Back telling time, measuring time correctly. Yours is still broken. Yours still standing still. And you're wondering why it's standing still. Why is mine not working? All this time and energy I put in fixing this watch, why is mine not working? Yours not working because you didn't take time to fix it. You was too busy focused on somebody else. You forgot and neglected yourself. Don't we all do that? We forget to take time to fix ourselves. And what I mean fixing ourselves don't always mean fixing something about ourselves. It means straight maintenance. It means maintenance. See, some watches need maintenance. Some watches need to be tuned. Some need to be cleaned. Some watches need to be oiled. And sometimes the same with you. Sometimes you need to pamper yourself. Sometimes you need to take some alone time. Sometimes you need to take some time where you can sit alone and read a book. For my ladies, go get your nails done, your hair done, your feet done. For my men, sometimes go get your hair cut. Go play some basketball. Go exercise. Whatever your vice is. Sometimes you need to take that time to do the maintenance on your watch, to maintain or to get what you want or what you need. Because if your watch ain't working, then guess what? You're performing and you're measuring time off a broken clock. It's only right twice a day. Think about it, people. Think about it. We're going to go back to something for a second. We're going to go back to the job situation. I know I'm jumping around, but I just want to go back to the job situation. Because I feel like I left something out. Because I talked about breaking up this relationship. I talked about breaking up this relationship with jobs. And the interesting thing about breaking up a relationship with jobs is this. I want to bring a perspective up for you, okay? Think about this for a second. A lot of times I hear people on social media, people say, yo, I'm punching the clock and I'm chasing the bag. I want y'all to think about that for a second. Think about what you just said for a second when you're talking about you punching the clock. And I'm going to change your way of looking at punching the clock and chasing the bag a whole different way. You're never going to want to use these words again after I'm done with you, all right? I promise you. Some of you may never. Some of you are going to be hard-headed and not listen. Some of you will never want to use punching the clock or even look at it the same way or chasing the bag. Think about this for a second. Punching the clock means to assault something, to actually punch, hit something. You chasing a bag, meaning you chasing something that's trying to elude you. So basically, you're assaulting this clock that's supposed to measure your time to identify and pay you based on the hourlies that you work, based on the wage that you agreed on. You're punching this clock. Then you're chasing a bag that's trying to elude you. What does that sound like to you? Because I know what it sounds like to me. What does it sound like to you? What it sounds like to me is that you're in an abusive, toxic relationship. That's what that sounds like. You're in a toxic, abusive relationship. Think about it, people. In abusive relationships, what happened? They begin with someone punching, hitting someone. They end with someone running, trying to elude the person attacking them. And the end result to the punching and running ends up being what? As long as you stay in a relationship with someone dying. Think about this for a second, people. A lot of your dreams, your individual dreams are dying because you're punching the clock, then you're chasing and eluding a bag that's trying to elude from you. You're in a toxic relationship. And where is the toxicity coming from? The toxicity is coming from the fact that you're angry, frustrated, that your watch is broken, that you don't feel like you're moving anywhere. So now you got to take your anger and your aggression out on somebody. You see how these two combine to what I'm talking about marriage and I'm talking about work? You see how it connects together? You see? It connects where you're in a toxic relationship. You're in a complete toxic relationship. You are punching the clock and chasing a bag. And what does it end with? Death. Then you might be saying, you mean I'm going to literally die? No, I mean your dreams start to die. I mean that your dreams start to die. Your imagination start to die. Your hope and faith and want more start to die. The faith of having generational wealth. The faith of actually being rich. The faith of living out your dreams. The faith of being happy starts to die the more you punch in the clock and chasing the bag. But you think, yo, if I chase the bag, that's secure the bag, then guess what? Yeah, now I'm living my dream. No, you're securing something that was running from you. You chase something down, then you secured it. Basically, what you're doing is you're kidnapping something. You're kidnapping the money. You beat the money up. The money tried to elude you, so you caught it, you kidnapped it after chasing it. And now you think that you're maintaining it. This is going to create happiness. The bag ain't happy with you. You ain't happy with the bag. The clock that you're measuring time with, you beat up. It ain't happy with you. You're in a toxic relationship, people. So you need to find a relationship that doesn't start with or end with you punching, chasing, or trying to kidnap or secure something or limit, or even better, more, end with your death. A relationship should not end in your death, your personal death or a death of someone else. You also got to think about this, people. I talk about trying to find time and waiting for things to happen because I know I hit you with that. I want you to take a second and process what I just said. Process what I said about chasing and punching the clock, all right? Punching the clock, chasing the bag. Take some time to let it process for a second. Let it marinate for a second as we move on to this point. We got these other type of people, too, that sit at work. They're not the ones punching the clock. They're not the ones chasing the bag. They got a different type of toxic relationship. You got a different type of toxic relationship, not just at work, but just individually, even these people who want to get married. I often say to people is, don't want what someone else has. Don't ask for someone else's life because you have to take all that comes with it. You don't know the good and bad that lives in that person's life. You may see them with a big house, a nice wife, a nice husband. You might see everything, but you don't know what the heck's going on in that house. You don't know what that relationship is like between that husband and wife. Of course, they put on a good front for the gram. Of course, they put on a good front for public, but you don't know what's happening in that life. Be careful what you ask for, people. But still, so many of us do. Sit at work, right? Sitting at work. You know this person. You know this person sitting at work. Supposed to be doing their work, supposed to be typing up the spreadsheet, supposed to be working on this project, and the whole time they got one eye on the computer screen, the other eye on the clock, and then both eyes then revert from the clock and the computer screen to focus on what time you coming in the office, what time you leaving the office, what time you going to lunch, what time you coming from lunch, what time you spend doing your work. And they wonder why they ain't get their work done. You wonder why you ain't getting no promotion. You wonder why you don't even realize that your clock ain't moving. It's too much time you spending on watching somebody else's clock. You spend too much time watching what somebody else is doing. You can't even figure out what you need to do or focus on what you need to do because you're spending too much time on watching and figuring out what somebody else needs to do. How many of us right now have that coworker? We know that coworker. We know that coworker that's sitting there watching. Yeah, Shirley, she emailing the dad going, supposed to be working on a project, emailing the boss right now. Like, yo, you know Shirley, she just went to lunch at 12. She's supposed to be back at 12:30. It's 12:50. She come back 20 minutes late. I think we should do something about this. We know that person. And that same person wondering why they getting passed up on promotion. It ain't because you're snitching. It ain't because you're telling. It's because you ain't sitting here focusing on your own work, so your own work is lacking. Your own clock remains broken, so meaning it's at a standstill. It's not measuring the proper time. It's not moving. So when you sit here and you're blaming God for your reason of you not moving, why things ain't happening in your life as fast as you want to, then how about this, people? How about we try something else? We point the finger at the person who is truly responsible for our clock being broken, for the time not being measured, and the fact that God is not on our time or we're not on God's time, but the truth is it's us. We're the problem. But we can fix it by doing simple things. Get prepared for that relationship. Work on your clock. Work on taking some time to yourself. Work on self-love. Work on grieving. Work on healing. Healing from past relationships. Healing from heartbreak. Healing from being let down. From denied. Displaced. Healing from, yes, I experienced poverty, but just because that was my past don't mean it's going to be my present, and certainly don't mean it's going to be my future. We got to learn to reevaluate our lives, reevaluate our self-value, and not sit here and allow somebody else to tell us how to measure our timing of our day, or how we choose to spend our day, or how we choose to be paid for our time of day. We need to look at our clock. As I'm looking at the clock, I'm sitting here moving up because I'm looking at the clock. I got 2 minutes left. We got to revalue what we're doing. We have to look inside. I know some of you are not interested in clocks. Maybe you got a computer monitor, use your phone, but I'm urging you to get a watch. Crack open the watch. Look at the dynamics of the measurements of all the intricate parts and pieces that makes that watch go. Then compare it to your life. Compare it to your life. And all the intricate parts that leads to you obtaining your dreams, your hopes, your happiness, your peace. To actually attain it and finding and securing that love, that man, that woman, that's going to make you happy. That's going to make and bring joy into your life. Stop focusing on what somebody else is doing. Stop focusing on fixing somebody else's clock. Focus on fixing yours. Focus on fixing your clock. Stop telling yourself, because you're older, I don't have enough time to start over. I don't have enough time to chase my dreams. I don't have enough time to buy a house. I don't have enough time to learn a new skill or a new job. I don't have enough time to start a new relationship. I don't have enough time for this. You working off a broken clock. Fix your clock where it will allow you the time needed to do all those things that you want to do. Don't allow your age, because the truth is, yes, we all have an expiration date. Yes, milk, food, us, we all have expiration date, but the truth is we don't know what our expiration date is. We don't know if it's 5 minutes from now, 5 years, or 50 years from now. So the truth is you don't know how much time you truly have to achieve your dreams. So act like you don't have all the time in the world. Act like you don't have much more time, and use that time that you do believe you have or that's at hand to make the best of your situation. Don't allow your dreams, your goals, your happiness, your peace, your joy to die along with you. Don't let it expire when your clock expires. All of our watches, all of our batteries are going to die in our watches. Sometimes it's up to us when that happens. Don't let it happen before it's meant to. Make the best of the time you do have. Don't limit yourself, because that's not what the truth of what God intended for when he put time in the mind of the Egyptian people. That's not what he did. That's why the sundial, though it can tell time during the day, it doesn't at night. Because God never limited us. He never limited our dreams. He never limited what we could do. He certainly never limited our time. Make the best of your time. Instead of fixing somebody else's clock, fix yours. I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Past the Present Podcast. Until next time I see you, people, I only got one thing left to say to you. Stay tuned.